All right, internet folks and friends and everybody else and loved ones and everybody. Oh, man, it's almost 5 o'clock here on Tuesday. Here's our project, our 1998 Mustang with a 6-cylinder. It's got dual exhaust on it. Kind of surprised me. I'm not that, although I own a Mustang. Hey, somebody's watching. It always pops up that little bitty picture up there, and I can never tell who it is. Oh, it's Stephanie. Hi, Miss Stephanie. How are you? How are you? But now it's totally strip washed and decontaminated and all that, and I'm getting ready to clay bar it, which it already looks better than it did before. But when I pull it in here, I've got my good lights on, and I was gonna show y'all what really didn't show up this morning on the other one. And I think you can see the challenge I have ahead of me there, Miss Stephanie. You can see the oxidation on the hood and how dull that paint is and all the contaminants that are still embedded into the clear coat. And my clay bar will get a lot of that out, probably about 95-98% of that, and it'll look way better when I get through clay barring it. Of course, I'm going to start on the roof, and the hood is, I would say, probably the worst area of all. And like I said this morning, this side, I mean, I can feel the contaminants, but it's relatively smooth compared to this side, which is very, very rough. And you can even see kind of the difference there. This side is much more oxidized, and to me, oxidation is a kind of a generic term. To me, it's just short for sun damage, and soap not getting rinsed off, and contaminants being left on there and that sort of thing. No protection being added. This is a Mako paint job from what I understand, and it's a typical Mako, cheap Mako paint job. Basically they spray them and send them out the door. They don't cut and buff or nothing at this level of paint. But I mean, you can almost see this, the hood almost looks a different color than the fender. Doesn't it, Steph? Can you see that on camera, sweetie? And you get up close, you can really see the scratches that are in there. And, all the scratches on this fender. If you get up close, you kind of see them. I'll go back around the other side of the lights a little better. But this, I don't know, that's some damage there. It's like the paint is cracking. See that right there? Not going to be able to help that a lot. But when I put the Optimum Clear Coat Restore on here, it's literally a wipe-on, self-healing clear coat, and it will help that tremendously and prevent further damage from happening as quickly as it would if all you did was put wax or something over it. So, I mean, you can see this is pretty dull here. I'm not sure exactly what caused that, but the nature of a lot of these scratches tells me this thing has been run through a car wash, a commercial car wash, on a number of occasions. And that soap they use and that water they use is terrible, terrible, terrible. And those brushes scratch the hell out of your paint. There's a scratch right there. I catch it with my fingernail, which means it's probably not going to altogether go away, but we'll see what we can do with that. I still don't see this scratch. Oh, I see them now up there. I don't know if you can see them, the scratches he was talking about on his windshield. Yeah, I see it now. It goes right across there. I don't know if y'all can see that or not. Some of that may buff out with some glass polish and a buffer, but I won't know till I just try. I'm not that inherently familiar with polishing glass that I can just look at it and tell. And I can't feel of it and tell. Oh, there's a different picture up there. Is that somebody else? Oh, yeah, it's Miss D. Hey, Miss D, how you doing, sweetie? Showing everybody, I've finished strip washing this car, but you can see I'm about to clay bar it. There's still a lot of contaminants on this paint. I mean, it feels rough to the touch. It's not smooth. So we'll clay bar it next, and we'll get rid of a lot of that. As far as the contaminants go, probably almost all of it, unless they're embedded down into the clear coat too far. You can see right here where there's looks like a little dimple there, and there, that's where the contaminants have actually embedded themselves down into the clear coat. Hey, Miss Sherry, or should I say Miss Ron? I don't know. I guess you probably prefer going by Sherry, but that's some of that is embedded too deeply, especially in this cheap Mako paint, which is extremely thin, will not come out. But Sherry, I look like I was so wrapped up this morning. It was like 20 something degrees out there. I looked like the Michelin man waddling around out there trying to wash his car. Yeah, I was bundled up, had my rubber boots on and a big old really thick pair of thermal socks. It wasn't that bad. It really just wasn't. And I had my rain suit on and all that kind of stuff. So I was okay. I mean, it was a little uncomfortable, but I managed to survive it. But see, this paint's going to take a lot of work. The buffing and stuff. I mean, it's just full. I wish y'all could see all these scratches. Ooh wee, man. See all those right there? A lot of that. The whole car is covered like that in scratches. The whole car. I mean, it looks good from a few feet back, but when you come in close, it don't look so good. And the paint looks dull. But we're going to fix most of that. Hey, Miss Glenda, how you doing? You didn't freeze to death on your walk today, did you? Huh. I was telling Miss Sherry a while ago, she's watching, Miss Sherry Latella Cox, that I was so bundled up this morning, I looked like the Michelin man waddling around out there trying to strip wash his car. And I also did an engine bay detail. That's why it took so long. And he bought a motor from a junkyard or something, and they had marked on the valve covers with some kind of yellow marker, and on part of the engine bay. And man, I like to never got that stuff off. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe Ron would know. Maybe Ron would know, Miss Sherry. I don't know. But Miss Glenda. But you can see, uh-oh, I knocked something over there. It's just a bucket. You can see how that paint dulls as you get closer up to it. And you can see the scratches in it, Glenda. But we're going to make most of those go away. There's a deep dimple in the paint there. I'm not sure what that's all about. A big scratch right there. But all these contaminants, most of those will be gone just by clay barring the car. And you'll be surprised how much better it looks. See, you can see where the light's hitting there, all them scratches, and the breakdown of the UV protection and the oxidation in the paint. The closer you get, the less shiny it looks. It's because of the way the paint reflects the light back at your eye. It's all about your eye's perception of what it's seeing and how the light bounces back at you. But we'll flatten all that paint out. Like I say, I think the clay bar is going to make a huge difference. You can see the sides are better, and that's because they're not exposed as much to everything as like these horizontal surfaces are, like the trunk, the roof, and the hood gets hammered a lot because it gets sandblasted going down the road, and a lot of stuff that splashes up, it ends up on the hood and in the front end first. But so these vertical surfaces aren't as bad. So the mirrors look pretty good, which is unusual. They look better than mine. Of course, mine are black plastic. They're not. Mine are kind of a pebbly finish. This is a smooth plastic. That's plastic. Believe it or not, I think this hood is fiberglass. I didn't realize that. I don't know if it's an aftermarket hood or what, but it's got the same scoops that mine has. But I didn't notice it till I lifted it up to detail the engine bay. The little hole where the prop rod goes, you could tell it was fiberglass where it kind of broken away. So I think that whole hood is fiberglass, which may be why it is looking poorly. Like I say, I'm not sure. I don't think they came from the factory with a fiberglass hood, but they may have. I'm not an expert on this, on these old Mustangs. I know a little bit about mine, but the Mustangs in general, I don't know that much about. But anyway, like I said, Miss Glenda, my next step is clay bar. I'm going to be using, I forget what brand it is. I've got 3 or 4, but they come in different grades, you know, and they come, mine, I'm using the aggressive clay bar because this paint is so bad and I want to get as much as possible. If your paint's not that bad, you don't need the aggressive, you need the mild. Matter of fact, my buddy Mark, who may be watching or will probably watch this later, went to high school with him. I bought him some because I can order from a place that detailers get its stuff much cheaper. But I ordered him mild clay bar because he keeps his vehicles very, very clean and takes care of them. So he didn't need aggressive. And when I strip washed this thing, it was a multi-step process. And Ron, you probably know this, strip washing a car like this. You know, the first thing I did was pre-rinse it. And then I foamed it with some citral stripping foam. Then I did a contact wash, Ron, with the Meguiar's Wash Plus, which is good soap to use if you're stripping a car like I was this one. I don't want it as much off of the paint as possible, but they call that they call that a polishing soap. It's not really a polishing soap, but it is in the sense that it does have some mild abrasives in it. So to me, unless you're going to be following up with some sort of paint enhancement. Hey, Miss Abigail. How you doing, hon? My neighbor, I think. Unless you're going to be following up with a little bit of buffing of some sort, a 1-step or a 2-step, I would not use the Meguiar's Wash Plus. But on cars like this, I use it because I want to be able to scrub the paint and get it as clean as absolutely possible, because I am going to be doing some heavy paint correction. I'm doing a full paint correction on this car, which is going to involve wet sanding. You could probably tell by looking at it, Ron. It's going to involve wet sanding, probably darn near the whole car, but I have to be careful of those vinyl stripes. You can't wet sand those, obviously, or at least I wouldn't. And then I'll be compounding it and then polishing it down. And then I'll be paint prepping it because he wants the Optimum Clear Coat Restore on here. So after I do all that, then I've got to go back over the whole car with a polish that they make that is made to prepare your paint for the Clear Coat Restore. And then I have to paint prep it again with the Optimum Paint Prep, which there again is formulated not to react with their Clear Coat Restore. And then I put the Clear Coat Restore on, which has to cure, I think, for a day or so. And then on top of that, most likely I will put a ceramic coating. So you're talking days and days of curing times for those products. And I may end up putting shield or armor over as a topper. It just depends on how it looks and how much protection I'm getting out of it. But I'm going to try to get this thing clay barred, you guys, before I have to go in the house and start my supper. Yeah, see, back here you can see those scratches on the windshield. I don't think those are going to go away. I think they'll go, I can make them less noticeable but they look pretty deep to me. When you can see them from this far back, I'm not too sure I'm gonna be able to help him with that. Yeah, see here? That's pretty deep into the glass, which is just tempered glass. It'll take a lot of aggressive product, but you don't want to leave a hazy spot and you don't want to reduce your optical clarity, so you have to kind of be careful with it. I think some of that will go away, but not all of it, because it goes from way down here all the way over, boom, to where the wiper finally stops. And I think some of that came from, see how this wiper is not attached properly? And I think it must have come loose while he was using it, and I think the scratch was done by this part, the metal, not the rubber. That's what I think. I may be wrong, I may be right, who knows? It doesn't really matter. It is what it is, as they say nowadays. But I'm going to get to work, you guys. And thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button, the whatever button they have for Facebook Live to acknowledge you've been here. Make a comment. If you guys have any questions about how to do this, or any steps, or what products I might suggest, or anything, if you have any questions at all, be sure and leave them down in the comments section, and I'll be more than happy to answer those for you. If you need recommendations for your car, especially if you live close by like Miss Abigail does, feel free to stop in and let me look at your car. If you need some suggestions and some guidance, I'll give it to you. No problem at all. All right, I'm going to sign off and get back to work. Bye, guys.